Want your body, I want your body, 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 want your body, I want your body.
Sexy ladies in the party. My love is so when no shake on up. Cock it up like uno de pana Ducati. My gal you bring the heat, Miami. Huh?
There's a melding of the culture to bring us to the best brand space, the best brand that we can make of the Caribbean.
Yes, and in fact, there were so many positive reactions that I got from people on the ground. I was at Accra Beach and one woman came up to me and said, we just love reggae, we're not going to we're just not going to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And one man actually said to me, the high-ups love Calypso, and they don't say anything about it. But you see, there's a sense in which there's a class divide, that Calypso is seen as the music of the elite, the middle class, and dancehall reggae is the music of the masses.
But that is even a very interesting, many of us from our generation weren't allowed to sing Calypso.
No.
Because that was seen as one of the lower classes.
Exactly,
Same
but
thing
you see,
time
changes.
Has brought it around.
Yeah, so it's now respectable. In Jamaica, for example, we have had an importation of a carnival culture into Jamaica. But this carnival culture is largely middle class, sort of very uptown. And when those people get on bad in the streets for carnival, they don't see any parallel between their behavior and what happens in the dance hall regularly. And so it's as though it's okay for them to get on bad once a year.
In a while,
it's a kind of way of identifying with the masses, or not even identifying, because it's really pretending. And so this working class culture circulates through the Caribbean, and it's a youth culture too. So a lot of young people respond to dancehall.
Looking back at what our African heritage brings, and that is the rhythm and the movement of the body,
especially the pelvic movement.
Pelvic movement.
Yes.
And as you mentioned, you say in the streets or in the culture, it's fine. You put it on stage and it changes.
Yes, well actually it's kind of the other way around, because when you see the same movements from the dance hall on stage as art or as folk art, it's okay on stage. Yes, it's okay on stage. But when you see it in the dance hall, it's vulgar. You go and see African dancers with the pelvic movement, and
it's so beautiful.
Yes, but when you see it now performed as part of an everyday ritual of celebration, it's seen as vulgar. If you see a woman dancing on her head top, and it takes a lot of skill to do this, don't put any label on her and say that she's vulgar. It's an African thing, and she brought it down here. This music, the dancing, have their origins in Africa. And we should not devalue these cultural forms of expression.
Let's talk a little bit about the focus, the meaning, the drive behind dancehall, especially after reggae. Reggae, as you say, was a lot of social commentary. As one person said,
but there was a lot of just plain sex in reggae too, When Bob Marley talks about kinky reggae, I went downtown, I saw Miss Brown, she had brown sugar all over booga wooga, what's he talking about, It's not high social and political commentary, it's about sex, So you always had sensuality, sexuality, sex, raw sex in reggae. And people forget about that when they talk about reggae as political and conscious lyrics, and don't accept that there's always been a continuum of themes. So dancehall emerged in the early 80s as a music that seemed to be focusing on sensuality and stuff. But
let's talk about this whole concept of slackness. One of the things that came to mind as I read about that was that the taboo that has been placed on sex and the reason why it is read as slackness in this form And it is because we have these taboos attached to the whole idea of sex and sexuality and fertility. Why do you think?
Boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom, boom boom. Girl, you're popular, but your pussy no popular. Bounce like ball and rock out, you no regular. Your pussy little, it not big like Africa tea. Now long out, I am out like Dracula. I know every girl get a body like me, yo. The pussy where you have a